That's a very simple way to think about the conversation of risk, and it's ubiquitous. It applies to literally everybody, whether you're a homeowner or you own a portfolio of real estate like a REIT, or you're an insurance company, you have a portfolio of properties that you insure. I mean, these are just underlying foundational conversations. Then we can focus on, well, okay, where do interior water losses come from? Where does plumbing leak? And so you can begin to refine or create a funnel and get more specific about each one of these conversations. One of the things that I want to educate your audience is that across all real estate in the United States, we can think about risk in some very fundamental ways, which actually simplifies the whole story of risk and makes the conversation a lot easier. The largest and most frequent cause of loss of damage in the United States is wind and hail damage. It's not wildfires, it's not earthquakes, it's not floods, it's not tornadoes, it's wind and hail damage. So if I'm going to think about wind and hail damage, I care about roofing, I care about what's the exterior materials on a property, but those are fundamental things that I should really care about because that is the single largest category of risk to real estate in the US. The second leading cause of risk to real estate in the United States is, in the insurance jargon, a peril we're going to call non-weather interior water. If you're not from the insurance world, just call it interior water leaks, plumbing leaks. And these are ubiquitous regardless of where you live. So even if you live in a part of the country where there is no significant wind or hail risk, I'm pretty sure you still have a plumbing risk. And so again, that's a very simple way to think about the conversation of risk, and it's ubiquitous. It applies to literally everybody, whether you're a homeowner or you own a portfolio of real estate like a REIT, or you're an insurance company, you have a portfolio of properties that you insure. I mean, these are just underlying foundational conversations. Then we can focus on, well, okay, where do interior water losses come from? Where does plumbing leak? And so you can begin to refine or create a funnel and get more specific about each one of these conversations. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. And let's maybe get practical here, right? Let's get like a practical application. Let's imagine I own an apartment complex and it's a 350 unit apartment complex. It's in California, right? It might be close to some fire stuff, right? And or it's in Florida and it might be subject to like flooding and certain things, right? Which I know those are the second, those aren't the number one. Wind and hail are number one, but just to make it really practical, what is Room and Pillar going to help that owner to do? Maybe give us like a case study to kind of bring this thing to life.
Yeah, you bet. All right, let's talk about plumbing, because regardless of geography, we hope that you've got potable water plumbing inside this property. You've got cold water in your walls and you've got hot water in your walls. So if you own, for example, an apartment building, I don't know, you could have a boiler supplying hot water throughout this structure. You could have water heaters in each individual unit. Regardless, that water heater and all of the appliances that are connected to your cold and hot water plumbing inside that unit, those are incredibly higher risk parts of the asset itself. And so if you want to just have a conversation about, well, forget geography, I own real estate, therefore I have plumbing inside my property, I have pressurized water inside the walls, the water supply lines, and the appliances that my occupant is using every single day, great. Let's do this. Let's focus on your water heater, your dishwasher, your HVAC system, a clothes washer, a clothes dryer, and a refrigerator and an ice maker. Because statistically, those are the products inside of the property that are going to fail. And if they fail, they may fail belligerently, which means they're going to fail and cause property damage. Now, we don't want that. That's the worst case scenario, is that they fail and they flood a home. But we can take steps to collect data, not on the entire interior of a house. That's exhaustive. It's really time consuming. It's horribly inefficient. Don't do that. I don't suggest you should. But if you really want to get strategic about understanding the risk of something like interior water inside a property, then you should send somebody around, whether it's the occupant or somebody else or you, to go around and capture the images using a smartphone of what I'll refer to as the asset tags. In other words, the manufacturer's tag, the manufacturer's sticker, their plate on all of those core assets inside of this real estate. Okay, now you're generating structured data. Not just structured data on the house or on the apartment, but structured data on the assets within it. And this becomes really useful for all kinds of reasons. Not just do I want to understand, hey, is this dishwasher recalled? Is this dishwasher beyond its estimated useful life? Water heaters are one of the consistently biggest risks across all real estate. And it's not that people don't make good water heaters. I would never say that. That's not what I'm suggesting. It's that people don't replace a water heater until it leaks or until it doesn't produce hot water. Either way, those are the only call to action to say, I'm going to go replace my water heater. That thing's a ticking time bomb. And so it's the perfect example of a product that you should be monitoring how old it is, because the data on estimated useful life for a water heater is incredibly clear. So now you have the opportunity to say, hey, this water heater is too old. I'm going to go ahead and do what I know is in my own best interest. I'm going to replace it, even though it still makes hot water. Or if you're a really smart owner of apartments or condominiums, and you know that that unit is going to turn over when one tenant leaves and another tenant's going to come in, well, that's the ideal time to replace a water tank. It's not disruptive and it's cheap. Do it then. So those are simple, very simple use cases. And one of the businesses that we support at Room and Pillar, that if your audience really wants to double click into to understand, well, like, how do I do this? Where is that technology? It's a company called Source 7. And Source 7 is not only a Room and Pillar investment, but it's one of those assets that at Room and Pillar, I'm pushing into other businesses, not only within the Room and Pillar portfolio, but across InsurTech and PropTech. Because I don't think it's unique that people have dishwashers. It's not unique that we have ice makers inside of real estate or clothes washers and dryers. These are so common. It's like, shouldn't everybody know if your ice maker has been recalled? And yet no one does know, because there's no data correlation between the consumer and the manufacturer. So if the manufacturer declares a recall, who are they going to tell? They don't even have your contact information.